Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening from Indonesia, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the webinar Empowering Women and Girls Through Football. Our Excellency, the HMA British Ambassador to Indonesia and Timor-Leste, Mr. Owen Jenkins. Our Excellency, Deputy for Gender Equality of the Ministry of Women's Empowerment and Child Protection of the Republic of Indonesia, Ibu Insinyur Agustina Erni Susianti, MSc. Our Excellency, the Assistant Deputy for Sports Personnel and Organizations Improvement of Ministry of Youth and Sport, Mr. Dr. Herman Chaniago, MM. Our Excellency, Mrs. Vivin Cahyani Sungkono, as the Executive Committee of PSSI. Our Excellency, Mrs. Maika Ira Puspita, as Viva Under-20 World Cup Lead Project Manager and PSSI's Vice General Secretary. Our Excellency, Mrs. Dr. Papat Yunisal MPD, as the Head of Women's Football PSSI and Indonesia Women Football Association Chairman. Mrs. Roxanne Bennett, as Community Sports Manager and Women and Girls Equality, Diversity, and Inclusion Lead of the Crystal Palace FC. Our Excellency, Ms. Kashyapati, as Female Football Development and Social Inclusion Officer at Wimbledon FC Foundation. Our Excellency, Ms. Daniel Dabney, as Indonesia Women Football National Team. Our Excellency, Mr. Hugh Moffat from British Council, Indonesia, and all participants that already joined our digital forum today. First of all, let's thank God who has given us His mercy and blessing, so we can attend this program without any problems. Even though we are still in this pandemic situation, we should be confident to fight this with creativity. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, before the beginning of the whole sessions of this webinar, let me introduce myself. I am Muhammad Arif Fauzan, as your Master of Ceremony that will accompany you for this webinar, Empowering Women and Girls Through Football. And now, I'm going to announce you about Zoom user guide of this webinar. Sorry, could you please give the slide of Zoom user guide? Because before we want to start this webinar, we want to give the announcements or the informations about how to use Zoom and how to use the features in Zoom for this Zoom meeting. All right, now we're going to now about Zoom user guide. First, house rules during Zoom meeting. The first one, when entering Zoom meeting, click join audio. Next, please participants to mute the microphone when you are not speaking, and please turn on your video for the whole durations of the meeting for the panelists. Please access Zoom for the stable internet network. Avoid accessing Zoom nearby other users without using headset because it may cause echo or feedback noise. And last, in order for this interpretation feature to be available in your devices, please make sure that you are using the updated Zoom application. Next. If you would like to listen to interpretations, please click interpretation. If there is no globe icon, please click the three dots icon. Choose English if you want to listen English interpretation, or choose Indonesian if you want to listen Indonesian interpretation. Next. How to use interpretation feature on mobile phone. You can click the language interpretation and then click Indonesian or English. Please click done when you have selected. Next. Sign language interpreters will be available on the screen in the lower right corner. Live subtitle or class caption is available on the screen during the event. And disclaimer, ladies and gentlemen, please note that to ensure the smooth running of today's meeting, the host or co-host reserve the right to voice mute the audio or turn off the videos of participants who are not speaking. They may be unintentionally causing disruption to the meeting. This is to ensure that the audio of the speaker and interpreter remains clear at all times. We thank you your cooperation in this matter. Have a productive meeting. Thank you. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to the webinar Empowering Women and Girls Through Football. This is a collaboration program between PSSI and British Council. And this is the very first online forum that will bring together a diverse group of leading experts, practitioners, and stakeholders from Indonesia and the UK to share best practices on how football can be used as an impactful tool for community engagement and discuss topics in collaborative environment, advance sustainable development of football in Indonesia, which focus on women empowerment. Here are the series of activities for this webinar. Opening speech session, a panel discussion, Q&A, and closing remarks. Moving to the first agenda, we would like to invite Mr. Owen Jenkins as the HMI British Ambassador to Indonesia and Timor-Leste to deliver his speech. To Mr. Owen Jenkins, the spotlight is yours.
Terima kasih banyak. Selamat sore semuanya, and good morning to colleagues from the UK. It's fantastic to be here at this webinar, Empowering Women and Girls Through Football. And it's even better that this is part of a two-day football forum in collaboration between the British Council and PSSI, the Football Association of Indonesia. I know that there has been a huge amount of work that's gone into making today's and tomorrow's events happen. And I would like to thank everybody who's been involved, particularly the speakers, but also the participants for giving their time and for speaking on such an important theme. In particular, I'd like to thank Her Excellency, the Minister of Women's Empowerment and Child Protection, Ibu Igusti Ayu Bintang Darmawati. I'd like to thank Her Excellency, Deputy Minister for Gender Equality, Ministry of Women's Empowerment and Child Protection, Ibu Agustina Erni Susianti. Assistant Deputy for Sports Personnel and Organisation Improvement, Ministry of Youth and Sports, Dr. Herman Chaniago. Executive Committee of Football Association of Indonesia, Ibu Vivin Cahyani, and all of the representatives, particularly from British clubs, for taking the time to be with us today. I'm sorry to see it's all South London representation. As a North Londoner, I think we could have done better, but never mind, we will crack on. But thank you for being here. And as a football fan myself, an Arsenal fan as it happens, I know that there has been such a surge in women's participation and in interest in women's football, and we've really seen that in Arsenal itself, which is, I think, been a really successful part of our team. And indeed, across England, women's football is the fastest growing sport in the country, and that's true, I think, both in terms of participation and in terms of interest. And that isn't just about sort of what happens on the pitch and in the club. It also happens behind the scenes and indeed in front of the cameras. So we're seeing more and more women professionals coming on screen, giving their opinion on the global game, giving their opinion on what's happening in football, and sharing their voice. And I think that's a fantastically positive development. At a time of global lockdown, at a time of COVID-19, to have this as the very first online football forum gives us a fantastic focal point for looking at the new opportunities and the themes which arise out of all of the latest developments in how we can use football as a tool of social inclusion. And in that context, it's fantastic to see such a diverse group coming together today, bringing together leading practitioners, stakeholders, football enthusiasts, players and others, as well as female leaders from the United Kingdom and Indonesia, to come together to share best practice and to think about how we can use football as a really impactful tool to support young people and to explore new ways of using it to empower women and girls. It's fantastic that this event today is aligned with this year's International Women's Day on the 8th of March, and the theme of that day, which is Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 World. And I think the thinking that we can do over the next couple of days about how women leaders can come together in football, show leadership, and give leadership to the wider community is a really important part of that. And I really look forward to hearing from the fantastic panels that are lined up of women leaders over the next few days. This event is under the banner for the British Council of the Premier Skills Programme, which is a partnership between the Premier League and the British Council. And it uses football as a tool to develop a brighter future for young people around the world. It draws on the skills of both organisations. So it draws on the Premier League's global appeal and its expertise in delivering community programmes in the UK. And it draws on the British Council's strengths, its global network, its track record of delivery, and its world-class expertise in the English language. Premier Skills provides us with a really proven model to think about how we can influence institutional approaches to social action through football, and how we can provide direct training to coaches to achieve that. Premier Skills is tailored to each country, so the partnership with Indonesia is very focused on how this tool can best be used in this country to reach the most vulnerable in society. That includes women and girls, but has reached out beyond it to disabled communities and disabled young people. In Indonesia, I'm very proud that Premier Skills works in partnership with PSSI and is supported by the Ministry of Youth and Sports. And that's particularly important because the goal is to tackle some of the most pressing social issues through the power of football across gender, across disability, inclusion, education, and health. It has had some success, and I'm really pleased that 39% of the participants in Premier Skills are now female. In today's webinar, it's wonderful to welcome representatives from the football industry, from grassroots communities, as well as from the policy community and others, both in Indonesia and in the UK. This should give us a great opportunity to hear from footballers and key female leaders about how to take forward this critical work. For me, like many people, football is a never-ending source of conversation, and it can also be a fun and creative way of looking for solutions to some of society's most challenging issues. I look forward to the discussion today and tomorrow, taking us forward in that challenge, and I hope that the webinar goes extremely well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Owen Jenkins, for your inspirational speech. Moving to the next agenda, we would like to invite Mrs. Vivin Cahyani Sungkono as the Executive Committee of PSSI to deliver her speech. To Mrs. Vivin Cahyani Sungkono, the stage is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sore, salam sejahtera, salam kebajikan, dan salam olahraga. Yang kami banggakan, Ibu Menteri Pemberdayaan Wanita dan Perlindungan Anak, Ibu Igusti Ayu Bintang Darmawati. Yang kami banggakan, Ibu Insinyur Agustina Erni Susianti, Deputi Bidang Kesetaraan Gender dari Kementerian Pemberdayaan Wanita dan Perlindungan Anak, Bapak Asdep Tenor dari Kemenpora, Dr. Herman Caniago. Salam ketemu lagi Pak secara virtual, salam olahraga. Dan yang terakhir, His Excellency British Ambassador to Indonesia and Timor-Leste, Bapak Owen Jenkins. Selamat sore untuk kita semua. Patut kita berterima kasih untuk kesehatan yang sudah diberikan oleh Tuhan Yang Maha Esa, sehingga kita semua dapat berkumpul di kegiatan Digital Forum untuk sepak bola wanita ini. Kegiatan ini adalah kegiatan yang sangat berharga dan bermanfaat, dan kami sangat bangga bisa bekerja sama dengan British Council dan juga Premier League. Dan kami berharap kerjasama ini bisa berwujud nyata dan positif untuk perkembangan sepak bola wanita di Indonesia. Dalam 2 hari ini, kegiatan akan dibagi dalam beberapa sesi yang bisa diikuti oleh para peserta. Sesi ini, peserta akan diundang secara khusus untuk mendengarkan paparan dari para profesional yang bergerak di bidang sepak bola, sehingga mendapatkan masukan yang sangat berharga bagi perkembangan sepak bola wanita di Indonesia. Teman-teman semua, mungkin tidak banyak dari kita yang mengerti bahwa sepak bola wanita di Indonesia telah ada sejak tahun 70-an. Bahkan saat itu PSSI telah membentuk tim nasional Indonesia yang ikut berkompetisi di ajang regional maupun di Asia. Hasilnya luar biasa. Pada saat itu Indonesia menempati peringkat keempat terbaik di Asia. Sungguh luar biasa, dan hasil yang diperjuangkan itu tidak mudah. Kita sangat mengapresiasi prestasi yang sangat gemilang. Sebagai olahraga yang nomor 1 di dunia, sepak bola tidak hanya didominasi oleh kaum pria. Sepak bola juga menempati posisi yang sangat penting bagi sebagian besar wanita, terutama di Indonesia. Bahwa banyak pemerhati sepak bola dan penggemar sepak bola. Dengan sepak bola, kita bisa mempunyai jembatan menuju kesetaraan gender, persamaan hak untuk wanita di berbagai level sosial dan usia. Sepak bola sudah juga menjadi industri dan peluang karir bagi para wanita. Tidak hanya sebagai pemain sepak bola, tapi juga sebagai coaches, ada di tingkat kepelatihan, ada di official, dan juga di manajerial. Wanita di sepak bola Indonesia adalah suatu udara segar, dan sebagai salah satu pembuka pintu bagi mimpi bagi sekian banyak putri bangsa. Tanpa disadari, sepak bola wanita berkembang dalam heningnya. Jumlah pelaku sepak bola wanita dan semangat yang dimiliki masing-masing individu hadir seperti bunga rampai yang dapat dijumpai di mana saja. PSSI melalui program tim nasional telah membentuk tim nasional under 16 atau di bawah usia 16 dan tim nasional senior yang telah mengikuti berbagai kompetisi internasional. Setelah bangun dari tidur lamanya, mulai dari pertandingan internasional, kompetisi, kemudian maju di tingkat Asia, yang terakhir bahwa kami berbangga bahwa sepak bola wanita menjadi salah satu cabang olahraga yang berkompetisi di Asian Games tahun 2018 di Indonesia. Di tahun 2021 ini, Timnas juga akan berkompetisi di level Asia untuk kategori usia 17 tahun dan usia 20 tahun. Dengan berbagai pertandingan tersebut, posisi Indonesia yang tadinya tanpa peringkat di ranking FIFA, sekarang ke-78 dari 148 negara. Sungguh posisi ini tidak mudah untuk diraih. Tentu saja, perkembangan sepak bola wanita tidak hanya diikuti melalui kesertaan tim nasional di kegiatan internasional. Itu adalah target yang memang kita canangkan, tapi perlu ada kompetisi di tingkat level domestik, baik itu kompetisi amatir maupun kompetisi profesional, di mana klub-klub peserta diharuskan memenuhi standar klub licensing yang diberlakukan oleh Asian Football Confederation. Tidak hanya itu, program pengembangan sumber daya manusia melalui kursus-kursus pelatihan, kursus wasit, workshop, dan seminar juga diperlukan karena kompetisi yang sukses dan profesional memerlukan dukungan SDM yang berkualitas dan memiliki standar khusus. Mari bersama-sama kita sukseskan program pengembangan sepak bola wanita ini, yakin bahwa setiap upaya yang kita kerjakan pasti akan mendapatkan hasil. Saya, Vivin Sungkono, mewakili Ketua Umum PSSI, Saya juga anggota Komite Eksekutif PSSI dan juga Ketua Komite Sepak Bola Wanita, menyatakan bahwa kegiatan Digital Forum Empowering Women and Girls Through Football dinyatakan resmi dibuka. Sepak bola wanita. Ini saatnya kita ambil peranan dalam industri sepak bola dan kita tidak akan pernah berhenti. Juara tidak akan pernah berhenti. Salam olahraga. Terima kasih.
What a wonderful story about Indonesian women football. Thank you so much, Mrs. Pipin Cahyani Sungkono, for your speech and opening this webinar. Now we step to the next agenda. We have a special video from Mrs. Igusti Ayu Bintang Darmawati SE MSE as the Ministry of Women Empowerment and Child Protection Indonesia. And here is the video. Check this out.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Tentunya salam sehat bagi kita semua. Yang saya hormati Bapak Jainuddin Amali, Menteri Pemuda dan Olahraga Republik Indonesia. Terima kasih supportnya kepada atlet-atlet perempuan Indonesia. Bapak Owen Jenkins, Duta Besar Britania Raya untuk Indonesia dan Timur Leste. I would like to convey my highest appreciation for the commitment to empowering Indonesian women. Bapak Komjen Pol Muhammad Iriawan, Ketua Umum Persatuan Sepak Bola Seluruh Indonesia, PSSI. Terima kasih banyak dukungannya karena telah memanfaatkan momentum Hari Perempuan Internasional pada tanggal 8 Maret 2021 lalu untuk memotivasi para atlet sepak bola perempuan, demikian juga para peserta forum diskusi. Pertama-tama, marilah kita panjatkan puji dan syukur kehadirat Tuhan Yang Maha Kuasa, karena atas berkah dan hidayahnya kita dapat berkumpul pada hari ini, meskipun secara virtual dalam acara Digital Forum yang mengambil tema Empowering Women and Girls Through Football. Tentunya merupakan utama perempuan ada di ranah domestik. Hal-hal tersebut mempengaruhi pengambilan keputusan dan kepercayaan masyarakat untuk berinvestasi pada atlet perempuan. Tantangan-tantangan yang telah kita hadapi tersebut semakin berat karena terjadinya bencana non-alam wabah COVID-19. Berbagai kompetisi dengan terpaksa harus dibatalkan. Ditambah lagi sesuai dengan pernyataan UN Women, pandemi ini menambah kompleksitas dari berbagai permasalahan yang telah dialami perempuan dan memperparah kesenjangan gender. Kondisi ini membuat para pihak yang terlibat dalam olahraga perempuan seperti pelatih dan administrator untuk dapat mencari program sistem terbaik agar atlet dapat tetap mengasah kemampuannya dengan aman. Tidak hanya itu, kesehatan mental atlet juga harus diperhatikan akibat adanya pergeseran gaya hidup dari aktif ke pasif. Selain itu, bagi atlet perempuan, kita juga harus memastikan kebutuhan-kebutuhan spesifiknya dapat terpenuhi. Bapak Ibu hadirin sekalian yang berbahagia, berbagai hal tersebut memang menjadi tantangan yang tidak mudah untuk dihadapi bagi kita semua. Meskipun demikian, saya yakin di balik tantangan pasti ada peluang. Bagaimanapun, atlet, termasuk atlet sepak bola perempuan, adalah aset penting bagi kemajuan bangsa. Potensi dan kemampuan perempuan yang luar biasa ini harus didukung dengan upaya pemberdayaan yang baik pula. Besar harapan saya bahwa diskusi pada hari ini dapat memunculkan solusi yang inovatif, kreatif, dan aplikatif untuk mendukung pemberdayaan atlet-atlet sepak bola perempuan. Semoga berbagai upaya dan perjuangan kita hari ini bukan hanya akan bermanfaat untuk saat ini saja, tetapi juga untuk membuka kesempatan bagi para anak-anak dan perempuan di luar sana yang bermimpi untuk bisa berkompetisi sebagai atlet sepak bola. Bukan hanya demi kemajuan mereka saja, tetapi juga demi upaya pemberdayaan perempuan menuju Indonesia maju. Dengan begitu, saya menitipkan atlet-atlet potensi perempuan ini kepada Menteri Pemuda dan Olahraga serta Ketua Umum PSSI untuk dikembangkan serta dipenuhi hak-haknya. Dengan adanya sistem yang mendukung serta proyeksi masa depan yang baik, diharapkan dapat menambah keyakinan bagi perempuan untuk menjadi atlet dan memperkuat tekad atlet perempuan untuk terus mengembangkan prestasinya. Tentunya saya juga mengucapkan terima kasih dan apresiasi kepada British Council dan Kedutaan Besar Britania Raya yang telah mendukung upaya pemberdayaan bagi atlet sepak bola perempuan. Saya berharap kerjasama ini dapat menjadi awal yang baik demi tercapainya kesetaraan gender secara global. Demikian beberapa hal yang dapat saya sampaikan. Perempuan berdaya, anak terlindungi, Indonesia maju. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Santi 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 Om. Namo Buddhaya.
What a wonderful inspirational speech from the Mrs. Igusti Ayu Bintang Darmawati. Thank you so much. Now we move to the next agenda. We would like to invite Mr. Dr. Herman Chaniago, MM, as the Assistant Deputy for Sport Personnel and Organizations Improvement of the Ministry of Youth and Sports to deliver his speech. To Mr. Herman Chaniago, you may have the floor.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sore, salam sejahtera buat kita semua. Salam, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Yang kami hormati dan sangat kami banggakan, Menteri Pemberdayaan Perempuan dan Perlindungan Anak Republik Indonesia, Ibu Gusti Ayu Bintang Darmawati, His Excellency United Kingdom, Indonesia Timor Leste, Mr. Owen Jensen. Good afternoon, nice to meet you. Yang kami hormati Ibu Insinyur Agustina Erni Susianti, Deputi Bidang Kesetaraan Gender, Kementerian Pemberdayaan Perempuan dan Perlindungan Republik Indonesia, Ibu Pipin Cahyani yang mewakili Ketua Umum PSSI, Ibu Maike Ira Puspita, PIPA U20 Woods Leader Project Manager and PSSI Vice General Secretary, Ibu Papat Yunisal MPD, Head of Women Football PSSI, and Indonesian Women Football Association Chairwoman, dan seluruh para peserta Digital Forum Empowering Women and Girl Truth Football yang kami banggakan. Pada kesempatan ini, kesempatan yang berbahagia, pertama-tama marilah kita panjatkan puji dan syukur kehadirat Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, Tuhan yang Maha Esa, yang telah memberikan karunia-Nya kepada kita sekalian, sehingga pada hari ini kita dapat bersama-sama bisa menghadiri rangkaian kegiatan Digital Forum dengan tema Empowering Women and Girl Truth Football. Pada kegiatan yang diselenggarakan PSSI yang bekerja sama dengan British Council, kami secara pribadi maupun secara institusi senantiasa berdoa semoga semua yang mengikuti Digital Forum ini dalam keadaan sehat walafiat. Semoga Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, Tuhan yang Maha Esa, berkenan melimpahkan rahmat dan ridho-Nya kepada kita semua yang hadir di sini maupun masyarakat olahraga di seluruh pelosok tanah air. Amin, 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 ya Rabbal Alamin. Pada kesempatan ini kami sampaikan permohonan maaf Menteri Pemuda Olahraga, Pak Zainuddin Amali, yang sebenarnya beliau ingin sekali berkenan hadir dalam Digital Forum ini, tapi dalam waktu bersamaan beliau sedang melakukan rapat kerja dengan Dewan Perwakilan Rakyat. Oleh karena itu beliau menyampaikan salam hormat dan salam apresiasi yang sangat luar biasa terhadap kegiatan Digital Forum ini. Kementerian Pemuda Olahraga sangat berbahagia dan senang sekali bisa hadir di tengah-tengah peserta sekalian. Dan perlu kami tegaskan di sini bahwa Bapak Ibu sekalian merupakan ujung tombak misi pelaku olahraga di Indonesia dalam membina olahraga prestasi di tingkat nasional maupun di daerah, bahkan internasional, terutama dalam cabang olahraga sepak bola. Tidak lupa kami ucapkan selamat datang dan terima kasih kepada seluruh peserta yang hadir saat ini, di mana pada sore hari ini sudah sudi untuk berproses bersama dalam Digital Forum. Untuk bersama-sama kita juga memperingati Hari Perempuan Sedunia pada tanggal 8 Maret yang lalu, dan sekaligus guna meningkatkan peran serta para perempuan dalam olahraga, khususnya cabang olahraga sepak bola. Bapak Ibu, para peserta sekalian yang kami hormati, salah satu cara untuk meningkatkan peran serta perempuan dalam sepak bola ialah melalui dan mempersiapkan sumber daya manusia sepak bola wanita. Banyak sekali peran yang dapat dilakukan oleh perempuan dalam olahraga sepak bola, di antaranya dengan menjadi pelatih, wasit, ya, pengawas pertandingan, measure, psikolog, dan lain-lain. Kondisinya ada di Indonesia. Kondisi yang saat ini ada di Indonesia, sepak bola wanita telah mulai berkembang. Namun untuk mencapai cita-cita kita bersama dalam meningkatkan peran serta perempuan melalui olahraga sepak bola, masih banyak pekerjaan rumah yang harus kita selesaikan. Peran serta perempuan dalam dunia sepak bola Indonesia, saya rasa masih kalah dengan negara lain. Padahal potensi yang dimiliki Indonesia untuk meningkatkan peran serta perempuan sangatlah besar. Setidaknya dalam masalah kualitas dan kuantitas, kita masih dianggap mampu bersaing. Namun, masih banyak hal-hal yang menjadi penghambat dalam usaha ini. Salah satunya adalah budaya yang ada di Indonesia, bahwasanya dianggap tabu apabila seorang wanita yang lekat dengan karakter lemah lembut harus ikut berkecimpung dalam kegiatan olahraga yang dikatakan olahraga keras. Belum lagi budaya di Indonesia sering dianggap tabu saat seorang wanita sebagai pelatih bagi kesebelasan misalnya sepak bola pria. Di Indonesia masih dianggap aneh dengan adanya budaya tersebut. Selayaknya kita harus berusaha meyakinkan bahwa keadaan tersebut merupakan bukan hal yang tabu lagi, namun melainkan suatu keadaan di mana nyata perempuan memiliki kesetaraan dalam memilih profesi dalam masyarakat sosial. Bapak Ibu sekalian, kami sampaikan pemerintah melalui Kemenpora siap memfasilitasi cita-cita kita ini untuk lebih meningkatkan peran serta perempuan melalui sepak bola dengan berbagai program yang telah disiapkan oleh Kemenpora bekerjasama dengan PSSI ataupun program-program yang nantinya dikerjasamakan dengan Kemenpora. Salah satu kegiatan yang akan dilaksanakan tahun ini adalah pelatihan pelatih lisensi C wanita yang dikerjakan Kemenpora bekerjasama dengan PSSI dan pelatihan pelatih lisensi D nasional yang dilaksanakan melalui dana dekonsentrasi yang akan didistribusikan ke 34 provinsi. Nantinya dalam kegiatan pelatihan dana dekonsentrasi tersebut, kita akan melibatkan kaum perempuan untuk berpartisipasi mengikuti pelatihan dimaksud. Kami berharap dengan program ini nantinya Kemenpora bersama dengan PSSI dan masyarakat umumnya dapat bersama-sama memajukan peran serta perempuan dalam sepak bola. Karena kita tahu juga bahwasanya dengan semakin ketatnya persaingan sepak bola pria di Indonesia ini, bisa jadi sepak bola wanita menjadi alternatif Indonesia untuk dapat berprestasi di kancah internasional. Demikian beberapa hal yang dapat kami sampaikan. Mohon maaf apabila terdapat kekurangan di sana sini. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam olahraga. Terima kasih. Thank you.
Salam olahraga. Thank you so much, Mr. Herman Chaniago, for your opening speech. Ladies and gentlemen, now we step to the next agenda. That is the most awaited session, a panel discussion with a grand team empowering women and girls through football. Before we start this happening or the panel discussion, I want to announce about the house rules. The first one is during a panel discussion, your microphone will be mute. Second one, for those of you who want to ask questions to the speakers, please use the chat box feature on the Zoom meeting with the format to whom the question is going to, underscore your question, underscore name, underscore your organizations or institution. And the last, in the discussion session, if you want to ask the speaker directly, please use raise hand feature and turn on your camera in the Zoom meeting. For more information on rules, kindly check the chat box feature in this Zoom meeting. And now we're going to a panel discussion with the green team empowering women and girls through football. This session will be led by my friend, the moderator. And now we would like to invite Ms. Karin Sunityo to lead the panel discussion. Hello, Ms. Karin.
Hi. Hi, Ari. Thank you. I'm excited already and doing very well at moderating, kind of like leading on the session for us. But okay, Bapak Ibu sekalian, selamat sore. Perkenalkan, nama saya Kartini Sunityo, biasa disapa Karin. Jadi saya mohon izin untuk menggunakan dua bahasa karena saya mewakili dua negara di sesi diskusi kali ini. Jadi singkat saja, selama beberapa menit ke depan saya akan memandu atau memoderasi sesi panel atau sesi diskusi untuk kegiatan sore hari ini. Sudah dihadirkan bersama kita 5 figur penting nih dari Indonesia dan juga dari Inggris, semua perempuan. Tapi kami juga ingin mengapresiasi para peserta dan juga para partner kita yang sudah membuat kesempatan sore hari ini berjalan dengan lancar. Begitu. Tadi sudah disampaikan, seperti di lapangan sepak bola ada peraturannya. Jadi ada peraturan untuk bagaimana kita memaksimalkan waktu selama diskusi panel sore hari ini. Jadi tadi saya sudah sampaikan, ada 5 figur sepak bola wanita di Indonesia dan juga di Inggris, bergabung dari berbagai belahan dunia, karena ada yang dari UK, ada yang juga dari US, dari Amerika. Bersama-sama selama beberapa menit ke depan kita akan mengenal lebih jauh mengenai sepak bola wanita, peranan sepak bola wanita, potensi dan kepemimpinan para wanita juga perempuan ataupun anak-anak perempuan di dalam pengembangan sepak bola, dan bagaimana kecintaan para narasumber kita nih akan sepak bola. Begitu. Jadi nanti akan ada 5 presentasi ataupun cerita yang secara berurutan akan ditampilkan. Begitu. Lalu sambil presentasi, saya sebagai moderator akan memonitor pertanyaan di chat box seperti itu. Hanya ingin mengulang. Lalu di Indonesia ada pepatah tak kenal maka tak sayang. Jadi kita kenalan dulu nih. Ada sudah hadir di layar yang berbeda 5 narasumber. Saya mohon izin Ibu dan juga rekan-rekan sekalian untuk memperkenalkan. Jadi yang pertama tim Indonesia dulu, Ibu Meike Ira Puspita. Beliau merupakan FIFA Under-20 World Cup League Project Manager dan juga PSSI Vice General Secretary. Sedikit tentang beliau, Ibu Ira sebenarnya merupakan former anchor for national television on the FIFA, as I mentioned, the FIFA U20 World Cup League Project Manager, and now being very active in advocating some key priorities on women's development program. Dan juga telah hadir dengan kita Ibu dosen dan juga Ibu kebanggaan kita semua, Ibu Dr. Papat Yunisal, MPD, Head of Women's Football PSSI, dan juga Indonesian Women Football Association Chairwoman. Dan kalau yang belum tahu, Ibu Pat sebenarnya ex-national team player di Living Legend who scored the goal and gave us a silver medal for Indonesia in 1982, and also former PSSI Executive Committee football coach. And a current PSSI Head of Women's Football Development.
Bagus banget.
Lalu yang berikutnya saya juga ingin memperkenalkan ada Daniel Devnin atau Didi yang bergabung dari Oregon, dari US. Saya panggil Didi ya. Jadi Didi merupakan Indonesian, salah satu pemain sepak bola perempuan yang masih aktif. Now studying at Oregon State University with an academic scholarship majoring for environment, economics, and policy major. Didi has started her competitive football since when she's 12 years old with other boys team and become the only girl in the squad, which is very great back then, and participated in J Green Dream Camp, Osaka, Japan, and also one of her national remarks is started in 2018 with a match against Thailand that became very regular, calling many international tournaments for Indonesian women national team back then, including the AFF Women Championship. Jadi that's the Indonesian squad, tim Indonesia. Sekarang saya ingin memperkenalkan 2 teman saya yang jauh-jauh bergabung dari Inggris, ada Roxanne Bennett dan juga Kasia Petit. Roxanne Bennett, Community Sport Manager and Women and Girls Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Lead from Crystal Palace Football Club. A little bit more about Roxanne. Roxanne has 20 years experience in sport coaching and football development. Previous roles include working at Fulham FC, the David Beckham Academy, which is very famous here in Indonesia as well, Arsenal Soccer School, Oman, and the Football Association. And also, last but not the very least, Kasia. Kasia is Female Development and Inclusion Officer, overseeing the Premier League kicks and community projects on providing coaching and development pathways of football to teenage girls. Kasia also played grassroots football for 17 years, including for QPR women and previously QPR girls too. The Mayut program, and also qualified coach for 11 plus years. I now to become a qualified UFEB coach and continue to grow women and girls football between school, recreation, and grassroots. So that's a little bit, just a quick introduction because I don't want to refill too much. Without further ado, apa yang ingin saya lakukan adalah mempersilahkan para narasumber kita untuk memberikan inspirasi ceritanya dan berbagi paparan. Mungkin saya mohon izin untuk saya berikan ke Ibu Ira, nanti dilanjutkan dengan Ibu Papat, dan juga ke Roxanne dan juga Keisha, lalu nanti terakhir Didi. Setelah itu kita akan coba diskusi bersama-sama. Ibu Ira, mungkin saya mohon izin, saya persilahkan layarnya ke Ibu, dan untuk teman-teman silahkan menikmati diskusinya. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih Mbak Karin. Yeah, thank you so much for the introduction. So it is a very honor for everyone in PSSI to have such an extraordinary collaboration, forming a digital forum entitled Empowering Women and Girls Through Football. This is actually has opened a lot of discussion since this morning. This morning I've been sharing my presentation about what does women football means in Indonesia, and it has opened up a lot of discussion, a lot of ideas has been pouring out. We have people from throughout Indonesia screaming out what can we do to improve and develop women football in the future. And of course, this has been such an inspiration and such an eye-opener, and also brings a different perspective from all of us here at the PSSI, because actually right now we are also gearing up and in the preparation stage for the upcoming tournament. We have the Genesis in June, and then we have the AFF under 15, under 18 championship. We have the AFC qualifiers, as well as the SEA Games later on in Vietnam, in Hanoi, Vietnam. So there are a lot of things that we can do, and this has definitely opened up a forum of discussion, and we are very excited to have this discussion to develop further on for the next 2 days. So that's it from my side, and I'm going to pass on back to you, Karin. Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Ira. Thank you so much. I think if it's okay, I would like to invite Ibu Papat, who's so ready to tell more about the, like the Indonesian football, and also a little bit history of Indonesian football, which is apparently not everyone aware of that as well. Ibu Papat, we're ready when you're ready, Bu. Saya persilakan Ibu Papat.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sore untuk rekan-rekan di Indonesia. Juga selamat pagi untuk rekan-rekan di Inggris. Salam sepak bola. Baiklah, kami akan mengawali. Yang terhormat Ibu I Gusti Ayu Bintang Darmawati, SE, MSI, sebagai Menteri Pemberdayaan Wanita dan Pelindungan Anak yang sudah mendukung, support, dan terhadap sepak bola wanita. Terima kasih, Bu. Juga Ibu Insinyur Agustina, Deputi Bidang Kesetaraan Gender di Kementerian Pemberdayaan Perempuan. Yang terhormat juga Bapak Dr. Herman Saniago MM dari Asisten Deputi Peningkatan Tenaga dan Organisasi Olahraga Kemenpora. Juga ada dari British Ambassador untuk Indonesia dan Timor Leste, Bapak Owen Jenskis. Thank you. Yang terhormat Ibu Pipin Cahyani Sungkono, anggota Komite Eksekutif PSSI dan Ketua Komite Sepak Bola Wanita. Yang terhormat juga Ibu Meike Ira, dari Wakil Sekretaris Jenderal PSSI dan juga leader Project Piala Dunia U20. Roxanne Bennett, Community Sport Manager Women's and Girl Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Lead, Crystal Palace Football Club. Casa Petit, Female Football Development and Social Industry Officer, Wimbledon EFC Foundation. Juga Coach Rudi Eka Priyambada merupakan kepala pelatih tim nasional terpilih untuk Indonesia beserta jajarannya, para pelatih dan praktisi akar rumput, para pemain tim nasional sepak bola Indonesia yang saya cintai, dan di sini ada salah satunya adalah Daniel Dapin yang juga akan bergabung bersama sesi webinar ini. Tak kalah pentingnya kepada para peserta webinar, tentunya ini merupakan ajang reuni yang sangat berharga karena para peserta webinar ini merupakan para pendukung yang sudah lama dan juga baru telah memajukan untuk peduli kepada khususnya sepak bola wanita, dan setelah melihat sangat bangga sekali, banyak yang kenal, dan terima kasih untuk semuanya. Baiklah, saya akan memaparkan materi untuk informasi yang terkait sejarah dalam sepak bola wanita dan juga program dari strategi untuk program sepak bola wanita yang melalui Departemen Teknik Sepak Bola Wanita di PSSI yang kita cintai. Tolong presentasinya ditampilkan. Tolong presentasinya ditampilkan. Baiklah, kita sama-sama melihat di sini bahwa sepak bola wanita di Indonesia adalah sebagai pengalaman dan pembelajaran, tidak luput dari kedua judul tersebut. Next. Nah, ini di mana kita pada masa lalu seperti sudah disampaikan tadi oleh Ibu Etsko, Bu Pipin, juga Bu Ira, bahwa kita tuh pertama ada sepak bola wanita tuh sudah cukup lama, dan tahun 1977 merupakan awal debutnya ada sepak bola wanita, walaupun pada masa itu banyak sekali hal-hal yang penuh tantangan, tapi kita bisa lihat sendiri walaupun kurang jelas di sana begitu berjubelnya penonton ya, yang ingin menyaksikan, juga di kala itu bisa kita jual, ada tiket masuknya. Nah, untuk prestasi saya mengulangi kembali bahwa tahun 82 juara 2 di Asia ya untuk sepak bola wanita kita Indonesia, dan kebetulan pada masa itu saya diberi kesempatan untuk bermain di salah satu event tadi yang bisa membawa nama besar Indonesia. Di tahun 1985 juara kedua juga ini, dan 86 alhamdulillah masuk semifinal di AFC Women's Championship. Next. Sepak bola wanita bukan olahraga baru. Sekian puluh tahun lalu kita mendapatkan keceriaan, semangat, dan karir sepak bola wanita itu telah hadir di Indonesia. Era digital memang memberikan nuansa dan sentuhan berbeda. Dulu pemain punya visi misi dan perangkat pertandingan berada di dunia sepak bola wanita dengan satu cinta terhadap olahraga itu sendiri. Kini dukungan yang makin maju ditambahnya juga dengan media sosial membuat kita tertantang untuk menjadi bagian dari perkembangan sosial budaya dan juga teknologi, menuntut kita untuk menjadi profesional. Tentunya bagaimana dengan tadi banyak yang mendukung, terima kasih juga dari pemerintah, dari juga di British dan lain-lain. Semoga apa yang diagendakan, diharapkan ini bisa terlaksana dengan baik. Dalam era sunyi hadir ketika sepak bola wanita berkompetisi hanya di level ASEAN. Ketika pemberitaan mengenai sepak bola wanita kalah oleh gagap gempitannya sepak bola pria. Berbagai kompetisi di tingkat ASEAN diikuti sejak tahun 80. Di tahun 2018 PSSI mengikuti kompetisi tingkat dunia yaitu Paralimpiade di Ramlah yaitu di Palestina. Walaupun pada masa itu adanya tentang bagaimana tantangan dan ada takut adanya terjadi sesuatu karena untuk berangkat ke negara Palestina itu tidak mudah. Tapi berkat kita semangat, kita gigih, kita percaya diri, dukungan dari pemerintah juga yang selalu mensupport, akhirnya kita bisa untuk mengikuti event itu. Alhamdulillah kita lolos ke putaran kedua yang diikuti Jordan, Indonesia, Maladewa, dan Palestina, dan kita bisa mengalahkan tuan rumah Palestina. Nah, untuk babak kedua kita belum diberi kesempatan untuk berlanjut, itu di Myanmar kita kalah, belum beruntung, masih banyak yang harus disiapkan. Asian Games 2018 kita ada juga multi event, alhamdulillah kita bisa ikut dua, yaitu Asian Games di Palembang dan juga SEA Games di Filipina. Itu suatu kebanggaan, pengalaman, dan kita harus mengambil bagaimana diberi kesempatan ikut ajang sehingga kita bisa mempersiapkan sejauh mana kekurangan kita dan sejauh mana kelebihan lawan-lawan kita. Kita juga ikut kualifikasi AFC U16 2019 itu di Kirgistan, yang mana juga itu tidak mudah, yaitu tantangan itu pasti bagi khususnya sepak bola wanita Indonesia, dan itu tentunya berkat kerjasama semua yang kita dapatkan. Namun bukan berarti sepak bola wanita tidak ada. Penggiat sepak bola wanita tidak pernah tidur, tidak pernah berhenti berjuang untuk sepak bola wanita yang lebih baik. Sepak bola adalah makhluk yang pantang menyerah. Artinya menyerah bukan bagian dari wanita, insya Allah. Karenanya sepak bola wanita hadir kembali dengan tekad yang jauh lebih beda. Dan saya setuju dengan tadi yang dikatakan dari British Council, di mana di Inggris itu sepak bola sudah mulai dimainkan oleh perempuan sejak usia dini. Harapan saya juga di Indonesia akan menjadi demikian, di mana tingkat partisipasi perempuan bisa meningkat dan juga bisa di grassroots itu bisa kita di mix usia maksimal 12, jadi ada motivasi kita bisa sama-sama latihan dengan putra. Namun itu juga harus dijembatani, dikawal oleh pelatih-pelatih yang profesional, yang sudah legalitas, mempunyai license yang standar dari AFC atau FIFA. Next. Di sini ada event Asian Games 2018, suatu persiapan yang tidak mudah, kita bisa menjadi tuan rumah dan segala sesuatu kita menjadi awalnya kita banyak kekurangan, tapi ini kita tampilkan para muspika, muspida, dan pejabat setempat, bapak-bapak yang seperti ini, juga para panitia, yang mereka selalu semangat, selalu setia untuk memperbaiki segala kekurangan, sehingga bisa terlaksana dengan baik untuk Asian Games di Palembang. Untuk masa depan, kita ada pemain perangkat sepak bola seperti tadi yang sudah disampaikan oleh Dr. Herman, betul. Ada fisio, ada masyur, ada psikologi, juga ada dokter, ada semua yang menyangkut untuk kesuksesan sepak bola wanita itu harus ada sumber daya yang tepat dan lebih perhatiannya. Karena tanpa adanya dukungan-dukungan itu, sepak bola wanita memang sepak bola yang menguras tenaga, juga dengan durasi yang 2 kali 45 itu tidak mudah. Nah, jadi itu juga kita akan mengadakan pelatihan-pelatihan untuk standarisasi bagaimana menangani pemain bola yang usia remaja, pemain bola yang senior, karena di usia remaja itu banyak hal tentang kewanitaan, bagaimana yang harus kita kita backup, kita juga harus perhatian. Tadi kata Ibu Menteri juga harus pemain ini diberi kenyamanan, diberikan perlindungan, bukan aja saat bermain, tapi bagaimana masa depan beliau, karena perempuan wanita itu tidak terlalu seperti putra, usia sudah punya keluarga, itu masih stabil, bisa bermain. Makanya saya selalu memberikan motivasi kepada anak perempuan, kita di lapangan itu harus seperti laki-laki dalam arti skill dan teknik. Jangan segan-segan, harus anggun, tapi di luar lapangan kembalikan bahwa kita seorang citra perempuan yang punya dalam feminim, dalam percontohan, karena bukan berarti kita juga harus main-main lebih bagus, tapi kita pikirkan juga bagaimana jangan sungkan-sungkan di lapangan untuk menampilkan apa yang bisa akrobatik tentang sepak bola, karena kalau hanya mengandalkan pelatih, kita juga harus latihan sendiri bagaimana kemampuan kita, insya Allah bisa. Dan PSSI selalu mendorong anggotanya untuk menyelenggarakan turnamen kompetisi di berbagai daerah. Walaupun untuk diawali dulu ada Galanita yang putranya Galatama, itu kita sudah ada. Piala Putri Nusantara yang pertama itu di Jepara 2016 diikuti 10 klub. Piala Pertiwi diawali 2015. Itu juga PSSI mendorong adanya partisipasi berbagai usia di turnamen dan kompetisi tersebut bergerilya. Untuk masa depan, untuk pemain dan perangkat sepak bola seperti tadi, untuk adanya pemain profesional, kita sudah punya Liga 1, tapi itu klubnya sudah profesional. Ada dari 18, ada 10 yang ikut, alhamdulillah, tapi untuk pemainnya itu standarisasinya masih amatir. Jadi kita itu lagi pembenahan, kenapa? Jadi mereka juga harus, kalau klubnya profesional, ya kita juga untuk kebutuhan mereka, kompensasi itu harus profesional, namun tidak mudah. Kembali lagi, nanti kita akan merancang secepat mungkin, semoga dari dukungan-dukungan semua kita bisa terlaksana dengan baik. Next. Ini mungkin hanya ditampilkan bahwa 2020 sampai 2022 kita punya kompetisi profesional jangka panjang. Karena ada pandemik 2020, walaupun kita udah terprogram, kita udah memberikan informasi kepada anggota kita PSSI di provinsi, tapi ada pandemik, jadi itu 2020 tidak melakukan untuk action offline, tapi kita mendata secara online dan untuk informasi-informasi yang harus disiapkan. dalam Pertiwi ada provinsi, regional, dan nasional. Jadi yang ikut itu mereka tidak langsung di nasional. Jadi mereka harus mengadakan dulu di regional, nanti juaranya baru ikut di nasional. Dan kemarin juga kita ada 10 tim, ada 4 playoff, yang mana playoff itu mereka punya tapi tidak mengadakan kompetisi di daerahnya. Jadi itu kita ada dikasih kesempatan untuk ikut. Juga tim sekolah bekerja sama dengan Kemendikbud, seperti kemarin juga ada GSI, Galah Siswa Indonesia, yang merupakan banyak sekali peminatnya. Insya Allah kami juga sudah koordinasi bahwa tahun ini mudah-mudahan berjalan. Ada Galah Siswi, itu usia SMP, juga ada PPLM dengan Kemenpora, itu usianya lulus SMA, dan alhamdulillah dikuliahkan secara gratis. Selain bermain bola secara prestasi, mereka dikuliahkan secara gratis. Jadi itu yang sangat kita harapkan untuk pemain, untuk orang tua, juga oleh komunitas-komunitas yang mana tidak hanya bermain bola, ini untuk masa depannya, bekerjanya, dan bagaimana. Dan sudah ada beberapa universitas yang secara gratis juga untuk kuliah kalau memang itu ada rekomendasi berprestasi. 2021 kita harapkan ada pemain profesional, ada degradasi 2 klub terbawah, dan perkenalan klub, licensing. Untuk perkenalan klub ini dalam timnas juga 10 peserta pemain amatir untuk bisa promosi ke Liga 1, dan nanti akan ada Liga 2, klub terbawah degradasi ke Pertiwi untuk putaran nasional. Jadi itu untuk klub licensing. Ini untuk SSB di sekolah juga usia 8-10 ini grassroots, yang merupakan ini akar rumput, bahwa mereka nanti akan khusus untuk dipantau, dan PSSI di provinsi, kabupaten, dan kota itu menjadi tanggung jawab mereka untuk aset mempunyai pemain di usia dini. 2022 kita ada penerapan klub licensing untuk pemain profesional. Terus tim sekolah kerjasama dengan Kemendikbud dan Kemenpora dalam percepatan untuk sepak bola usia 6-10 tahun. Next. Liga profesional. Di sini ada dibagi 2 wilayah. Dalam satu grup ini untuk di ABCD, dan untuk di 6 kali game home and away. Dan di sini juaranya nanti sama runner up akan dipertandingkan di suatu tempat. Ini hanya gambaran ya, jadi bukan berarti ini sudah fix, sudah on, tapi ini hanya gambaran yang akan diputuskan oleh para exco di PSSI pusat. Next. Ini Liga Amatir di babak nasional kita targetkan 32 pertandingan dalam 15 hari, 12 tim. Total kompetisi ini selama 5 bulan, dan kita atur bagaimana situasi mereka dalam usia sekolah, bagaimana kita bekerja sama dengan Kemendikbud, bagaimana juga kita bekerja sama dengan pemerintah yang akan membuat para pemain itu nyaman. Kadang-kadang kita ada tantangan bahwa ini pemanggilan timnas, tapi mereka masih ragu bahwa dia adalah ada tes PNS. Memang satu sisi mereka kebutuhan untuk menjadi pegawai negeri, tapi dalam satu sisi ini pemanggilan akan kita selesaikan secara terprogram supaya mereka dikala ada pemanggilan, dikala ada kesempatan, tidak memilih-milih dulu mana yang harus mereka lakukan. Kadang-kadang orang tua juga lebih resah, gimana ini sekolah anak saya, dan lain-lain. Nah, ini untuk babak provinsi ada home turnamen, direncanakan 34 provinsi. Ini semoga lebih dari 1.300 pemain dari 34 provinsi dan babak regional home turnamen di 6 wilayah, Sumatera, Jawa, Kalimantan, Sulawesi, Bali, dan Nusa Tenggara, Maluku, dan Papua. Next. Ini adalah mereka kita lihat dengan enjoy di Palestina di ruang ganti. Kenapa kami tampilkan bahwa sebetulnya di dalam hati para pemain itu teringatnya bagaimana lawan kita. Apakah kita akan kebobolan banyak? Apakah kita bisa untuk menang? Ya. Nah ini juga makanya mereka diberikan enjoy untuk sebelum pertandingan. Nah ini juga di lapangan di Vietnam 2008. Next. Ini ada untuk menaikkan ranking FIFA ini pertandingannya harus dengan image Indonesia versus Thailand di Palembang kita lakukan dalam hal live streaming dan siaran langsung di stadion internasional. Penonton berbayar ya, jadi cukup antusias. Kenapa kita harus berbayar? Kita untuk menaikkan profesional mutu, bahwa dia jangan hanya gratis tambah tidak tapi kita untuk menaikkan kualitas itu harus kita coba berani untuk masuk itu harus berbayar. Nah, itu kita coba dan puji syukur bisa berhasil walaupun tidak masuk sasaran yang semaksimal mungkin. Nah, jadi sepak bola wanita Indonesia menuju era profesional. Di sini ada Daniel yang nanti akan memberikan sedikit pengalaman. Dia koleksinya nomor 7 Daniel ini. Next. Di sini ada pengembangan kompetensi. Kita akan mengadakan di tahun ini kursus pelatihan license D ke C. Perempuan semua ya. Terima kasih, ini yang kebetulan pernah kerjasama dengan Kemenpora, ada pelatihan D. Nah kita akan lanjutkan ke C karena untuk kursus wasit license C ini masih ada lagi B, masih ada A, dan sekarang di tim nasional kita punya asisten pelatih yang putri karena itu juga merupakan keharusan. Ada regulasinya bahwa tim nasional kalau untuk event internasional itu harus ada asisten perempuan yang license B. Nah, kita sudah laksanakan, kita sudah punya ada kursus kepelatihan BAFC yang sekarang baru mempunyai 2 orang untuk BAFC. Alhamdulillah yang sedang bertugas sekarang di Timnas, Saudari Tosca, Coach Tosca, dan saya sendiri juga sudah berkesempatan untuk mempunyai BAFC. Workshop administrator. Nah ini kita dari tiap provinsi PSSI akan diundang nanti satu yang mewakili supaya dia khusus nanti bisa menangani tentang program sepak bola wanita, mendata klubnya di wilayahnya, juga memberikan informasi, menerima informasi, karena sampai saat ini ada beberapa klub di daerahnya tapi tidak komunikasi dengan baik, tidak terdaftar di Aspropnya sendiri atau di Askotnya sendiri. Ada workshop media juga, bagaimana kiat-kiatnya untuk memotivasi, untuk mengekspos tentang sepak bola wanita. Ada workshop marketing, ada seminar pengembangan sepak bola wanita, juga ada seminar sepak bola wanita. Next. Ya, next ini mungkin harus secara detail nanti ya. Bisa tampil dulu. Ini strategi sepak bola wanita juga ini next ya. Ini dalam strategi sepak bola wanita program, target, dan timeline. Ini ada departemen khusus kerjasama untuk lintas departemen. Jadi kami tidak hanya di sepak bola wanita, tapi ada beberapa bagian departemen teknik dan departemen lain tetap menjadi bagian dari untuk kemajuan perkembangan tentang sepak bola wanita kerjasama dengan Football Family. Nah, di sini ada pendataan klub, pemain, pelatih, wasit, manual, regulasi. Nah, ini yang tadi kita ada administrator di tiap provinsi. Sosialisasi dan promosi, ada pengembangan peranan wanita di sepak bola, ada manajer, administrasi, juga ada marketing dan sponsorship, partisipasi dan keberhasilan tim nasional yang sedang kita laksanakan sekarang untuk masih seleksi ya, seleksi untuk tim nasional sudah 2 minggu kita lakukan. Pengembangan kualitas pelatih dan wasit. Next. Bagaimana kita bisa menggapai target? Ini ada pembinaan dan pengembangan, tentunya tadi sinergis untuk dibantu dengan pemerintah, ya, dengan beberapa terkait ada percepatan prestasi, ada juga dengan komunitas-komunitas, ada juga dengan masyarakat yang memang beliau punya andil, ya, seperti mantan legend pemain sepak bola atau guru dan lain-lain, dan memperkenalkan, mensosialisasikan pertandingan, yang mana pertandingan itu nanti ada beberapa, ada Liga 1, Liga 2, juga ada Pertiwi. Nah, dalam strateginya itu komunikasi dan komersial. Dalam arti kata komersial itu dan komunikasi supaya bagaimana ada nilai jualnya sepak bola wanita ini, karena kalau tidak ada event yang betul-betul permanen, betul-betul kualitas, dukungan dari pemerintah, kita juga sulit untuk menuju ke sana. Dan peranan wanita itu banyak, harus selalu memperkenalkan, selalu memperlihatkan apa yang kita punya, harus melaunchingkan dulu supaya orang lain bisa mengenal. Jadi artinya kita harus jemput bola, jangan nunggu orang siapa sih sepak bola wanita, tapi kita ajak untuk partisipan mencintai, mengenal sepak bola wanita, meningkatkan dan menjaga peranan positif sepak bola wanita. Demikianlah untuk statement saya ini. Semoga saya selalu menunggu dan memohon untuk supportnya, yang diantaranya khususnya yang berbahagia ada di acara web ini, dan juga terima kasih kepada Ibu Menteri dan yang hadir di ini. Terima kasih, British Council. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih Bu Papat dan juga Bu Ira tadi. Mungkin kalau saya boleh izin rangkum sebelum saya coba undang teman-teman kita yang dari Inggris. Tadi ada poin yang semuanya menarik dan harapannya semua yang sudah hadir bisa lebih mengenal, dan banyak sekali ya sebenarnya informasi yang mungkin sangat-sangat baru. Di antaranya tadi Ibu Ira sampaikan bahwa program pengembangan sepak bola wanita di Indonesia merupakan salah satu program prioritas di PSSI, dan kaitannya juga untuk persiapan timnas dan juga beberapa program internasional PSSI. Dan yang sangat-sangat menarik saya catat dari paparan Ibu Papat adalah betapa evolusioner yang sudah dilakukan dari tahun 1977 tadi pertama kali. Saya belum lahir tuh, jadi bahkan sudah dimulai dan kita belum banyak yang tahu ya Bu. Dari 1977 sebenarnya wanita hebat Indonesia sudah ada di kancah internasional sepak bola. Lalu tadi juga dari Ibu Papat banyak sekali, saking banyaknya saya sampai bingung nih Bu yang mau saya pertajam di mana, tapi nanti kita coba diskusi. Jadi pentingnya kombinasi antara kompetisi yang sudah menyeluruh dari berbagai lini, tidak hanya di level elit atau prestasi, tapi juga di akar rumput sebenarnya sudah ada kolaborasi dengan kementerian dan institusi terkait, termasuk juga di beberapa, sebenarnya tadi sudah ada di 34 provinsi. Dan pentingnya ada dukungan dan peranan orang tua tadi saya mencatat, karena banyak sekali yang kaitannya dengan pandangan masyarakat luas bahwa yang boleh main bola tuh laki-laki aja loh, padahal tidak seperti itu. Nanti kita akan coba kupas lebih dalam. Lalu juga sudah disampaikan secara struktur dan strategi sudah ada dari PSSI. Tadi ada beberapa pertanyaan, saya harap sudah terjawab secara langsung mengenai poin-poin penting yang coba disampaikan oleh PSSI, dan senang bisa mendengar bahwa sudah ada klub atau ladies team di Liga 1 juga di Indonesia saat ini. Lalu 2 poin terakhir yang saya juga mau coba sampaikan adalah betapa pentingnya kolaborasi di internal asosiasi dan juga federasi yang menggunakan pendekatan yang mungkin lebih interaktif tadi dan juga secara jangka panjang. Yang terakhir, tadi saya suka sekali Bu Papat menyampaikan tentang football family ya Bu. Jadi family merupakan salah satu poin yang paling penting di Indonesia.
Iya, betul.
Harta yang paling berharga katanya keluarga begitu.
Ya,
jadi pendekatan football family kami juga sangat mengapresiasi, dan yang saya juga catat adalah bahwa ada unsur peningkatan peranan ataupun menjaga peranan positif sepak bola perempuan, baik di dalam lapangan atau di luar lapangannya tadi Ibu sampaikan. Mungkin itu dulu, saya coba tangkum, ada beberapa pertanyaan saya coba catat dulu. Yang sudah dinanti juga di layar yang terpisah, saya coba undang. I would like to give the opportunity now to my UK friends, Roxanne and also Kasia. So we already hear some of Indonesian stories, so I would like to invite you ladies to take the spotlight. Thank you. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's exciting to be here, and thank you for everyone that's pulled it all together. I can imagine it's a very big job to do that. So I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to share my experiences and my journey into football. So my name's Roxanne. I've been involved in football probably over 30 years, and that's playing, coaching, and sort of managing. And it's interesting to hear the history of women's football in Indonesia. I just had to quickly Google the years for women's football here, because it was banned in 1921 for 50 years. So we've had our troubles, I guess, in the early stages of women's football. So hopefully I can take you on a journey with my PowerPoint presentation that will sort of show you, if you were 5 years old now in the UK, what it would look like to go through girls' football pathway, I guess. So I wanted to start here with, if you were 5 years old in the UK now, you could be part of this programme, and it is run through the English FA. It's called the Wildcats. It's for girls that are 5 to 11 years old. And hopefully the word that kind of grabs people in this slide is fun. That's what we're trying to do at that early stage, at that grassroots level, is about having fun. We want to introduce girls into football where it's enjoyable, it's social. Hopefully you can see the faces of these young girls that are smiling, and they're there because they want to be there. It's something that's only really started over the last maybe 3 or 4 years that the FA have introduced this. And what's good about this is there's a small amount of funding towards the programme, but the main point is it's the start. It's to get girls to come along to grassroots football clubs. Myself as a Premier League club, we can also deliver it, but also smaller organisations that deliver girls football can also deliver this programme. So hopefully if a girl lives in a certain area, if she moved, she could probably do this programme as well. You know, so it's the same across the country. And this is just to get girls involved, because I believe that this is the key area of engaging girls into football. The challenges we have here is when they get to that teenage level, they're not interested and they drop off. So hopefully for a few years at school, they can take part in the Wildcats programme. And I think I've definitely seen it's an area where we can develop our coaches. So if you have new coaches that are training to do their licenses, having these sort of centres enable the coaches to learn themselves. Otherwise, where else are they going to develop? You can go on a course, but you need first-hand experience of actually delivering with children and how to learn on those courses. So I find that we try and introduce new coaches into this program as well as girls. Next slide. So if you're a 5 to 11-year-old, you then move on to what we call secondary school, and this is where you're 11 to 18. So there's an initiative with the FA where every girl has equal access to football in schools. And again, this is an area of development. There's still lots more to do in this area. But what it's saying is that if a girl goes to school and they're 11 years old, they should have access to football, whether it be in a school actual class, and a lunchtime class, and after school, but they have access to football. And again, I remember 20 years ago when I started coaching and I went to schools, I probably only had 2 or 3 girls attend a football club. Now, if I go, I probably would get 15, 20, maybe 30, sometimes 40. And I'm sure Kasia would probably echo that, is that now we've got an opportunity where we can go into schools and get girls to play football, whether that's competitively or recreationally. I think that's what the key is as well, is that not every girl wants to play competitive. Sometimes they want to just have fun with their friends, and that's okay. So it's having that opportunity. So again, I'm moving from a 5-year-old to 11-year-old. And if we go on to the next slide, this is another area where, can we move on to the next? That's it. Again, another area of development. It's new in the UK. It's everywhere in the UK, but it's still a challenge. So girls that are 16 to 18 can still go to school, can still get their qualifications of education, but alongside that, the football clubs provide the football opportunities. So maybe 3 or 4 times a week, they will do football training at school or at a local facility, and they can play against other centres like this. So this is just an example of Chelsea. Chelsea have these. There are other clubs that deliver them. But again, I'm trying to show that there's a journey that if I'm a girl and I'm going to school and I want to carry on playing football, there are opportunities for them to do that. And again, it's an area of development. They are growing, but it takes a bit more time in this one. Next slide. So this is probably the area that I sit at the moment. The Premier League Charitable Fund provide us with money, funding, that can go towards our clubs delivering girls football. So we go to schools, we go into the local community, and it's about engagement. How do we get girls to come to our sessions, to have that fun that we spoke about? And this area is around the 8 to 18-year-olds. So again, we're covering all areas of ages for girls. This is just an example of some of the clubs that are involved. There are lots more. I think there's around 92, I believe, involved around the UK. And it's our job to go to those schools, to go into the local community, to provide the opportunities. That's what we do. And also, we also try and provide volunteering opportunities. This is where we might find some young girls that want to go on the coaching pathway. So we've got an all-round job, I think, in this area, is we're just providing that additional opportunity for girls to play football. Next slide. This is another big area, I think, that hopefully we can provide. So the Women's Super League here in the UK, only in the last couple of days, there's been an announcement that the TV Sky will be playing the games live. Now that's quite a big deal over here. There's an opportunity now for girls to look up to these players, their role models. That's another area that I think in the UK we've been able to provide players that come out to our communities, that come out to Grassroots Club and talk to the young girls and explain there's an opportunity for you to play football if you want to. And this is obviously the elite level, but there's an opportunity, you know, there's a pathway for them. This is being created. On the top left is Crystal Palace Women. I can speak for them because a lot of those girls will come to our sessions. They will physically go face to face and it, you know, inspire these young girls to play. And especially through the pandemic, we've been lucky enough that they've done some Zoom calls with us, some questions and answer sessions. Again, lots of girls have got questions. How have you got to where you've got to? How do you balance working in a job and playing football? How do you have a family? Some of these have children. So we have to show to the young girls that there's a dream and you can make that dream come true if you want to. So again, the pathway of, I was 5 years old at Wildcats. I'm now maybe 18 or 19 and I can play in this team here. And I could be on telly if I want to, if I really work hard. So next slide. So that was the elite level. So on the next slide, this is just one example of a local grassroots league. So the Surrey County Women and Girls League. And at the bottom, you can see it says under 8s to under 18s. So we are able to provide girls in a local area the opportunity to play competitively. So we spoke about having fun. Some girls want to continue just having fun. That's absolutely okay. But also there's some girls that want to play competitively. And this under 8s to 18 would have possibly 10 to 15 teams per age group and even more. So this is just one area of the UK. This could be in 20 or 30 areas. So participation will grow because of these leagues. You know, there's that pathway where we could go all the way through to play from, I'm 8 years old, but I'm now 18 and I'm still playing in the same league. But I've got the vision to play in that elite level at Palace or Arsenal or Chelsea. Next slide. So this is one of my favourite areas. As I said, women's football was banned in the 1920s and it was banned for 50 years. This group of women were the women in the 70s, didn't have Wildcats, they didn't have local leagues. So one of the, I guess the biggest achievements I've made in my my working career is women and girls got left behind in those 70s and 80s, and we provided the opportunity for them to play again. And as you can see, the smiles on the girls' faces, because they get the opportunity to play football. They are football fans. Like we said, it's not just men. So women's walking football is another area, and sometimes that's for maybe the less abled or those that can't physically play football, you know, to that high intensity. So walking football is quite big in the country at the moment. And recreational, again, is that fun element where they have fun, we've made friends. And this is just some examples here of when I started this in 2016, and they're still going now. And there's a couple of ladies that have played for England walking football. So they've had the opportunity to play elite football when they're in their 50s, and they never had that opportunity. So I wanted to share this area because this is a generation that missed out on football, but they've had the opportunity now. And I think these women are flying the flag for women and girls football. These are the ones that are shouting out saying, football is for all. It's not men's football and women's football. It should just be football. We provide football in this country, and that's for everybody with disabilities, women and girls, all different minorities. Hopefully everyone can see here the smiles on their faces, and that for me is what makes me enjoy my job more, because I get to coach women like this who absolutely love playing football, and all they needed was just a pitch and the opportunity, and that's where our job is to do that. Next slide. So I know we spoke about the coaching pathway in Indonesia. Here is exactly the same. For some of those younger participants and some of the women's in the older generation, they want to get into coaching, they want to give back, they want to go and inspire young girls. So we, as an FA, will provide that opportunity. Obviously, with the pandemic, has caused some problems that we can't be face to face. So for our level 1 course, it will be online. So that possibly could be an opportunity where those who couldn't access it before might be able to access online delivery and get a qualification. The one thing that they probably would miss out was actual face-to-face, but hopefully we can provide that in our clubs. But again, it's about how do we then get females continuing on that journey that I've played at 5 years old, I keep playing, now I want to get into coaching, and when I finish playing, hopefully I can get into coaching. So hopefully you can see that natural progression that whatever age a girl is or women in this country, they can be involved in football at whatever level. Obviously this does include refereeing as well, and that's something we're trying to improve, female referees. And again, as I said, when I was coaching 20 years ago, I had 2 or 3 at an after school club. I think my top tip is this: it's a long journey. We haven't done this overnight. It takes some time, but it's about providing those opportunities. So here it's about inspiring next generation with role models, and hopefully myself and Kasia are those role models to the younger generation to say, look, you can have a career in football, whether that's playing, coaching. Next slide. So this is my last slide. Hopefully the journey of a 5-year-old in the UK up to, I guess, 60, 70-year-olds now is because of this, because of everybody that's been involved in the process. It's not just myself at Palace or the FA, it's the Premier League, it's grassroots clubs, it's the volunteers, it's us as professionals in governing bodies in the government backing this. It's male allies. It's not just women trying to do it. It's our male allies that are on the journey with us. So I wanted just to put across that is that I haven't done this by myself, and hopefully working as a team, you can achieve that increase in participation and that growth of women in football in your country. It does take time, it does take patience, but I think for me, it's passion. If you're passionate about it, then you will take it forward. That's all I have for today. Obviously, we welcome questions later on, but hopefully I've been able to give you a small insight into the journey that we've been through in the UK. It's still not there yet. We're still on that journey, but it's exciting times for women and girls football. We've got the Euros next year in this country. Again, another opportunity for women and girls to visually see girls on the telly playing football. So that's huge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roxanne. I think there's like a similarity between the UK and Indonesia in some of the challenges and also some of the, like a general perception in the society as well. I think because I'm conscious of time, I would like to just wrap up later on. So I'd like to invite Kasia to deliver her presentation now. Spotlight on you, Kasia. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for getting me involved in this great and powerful event, empowering women and girls through football. I'd say I've loved getting the insight into your structure there. And Roxanne has mentioned a lot of our structure we have here. So I'm going to give you a bit of a insight into my journey as a player and as a coach here through the UK. So I've got a small presentation for you to go through my journey. Okay, so my name's Kasia Petit. My role for AFC Wimbledon Foundation is Female Development and Inclusion Officer. So similar to Roxanne, I've been in that role since 2018. My playing experience has been playing for Queen's Park Rangers, also known as QPR. And I've been a player for the last 17 years, going from the girls through to the women's. And that journey's been great for me. I've got a lot of insight and experience through that. So on the next slide, we'll go through my playing. As every player does, they have ups and downs. So I've just shared some of my struggles and some of the positives coming through. So my struggles, first of all, would have been breaking my leg. This happened around 5 years ago. And as every player also does, they go through ups and downs in their career. So losing finals. So that's some of the sad sides to it. But on the opposite side, there's been some great comebacks. So from breaking my leg, I've made a comeback and I'm still currently playing now. So I see that as a blessing. A picture below shows me playing for my local county, Middlesex rep team, and captain in that. So it's a very proud achievement for myself, and still been playing in that. And hopefully we'll be going back to that as well while still playing. And also coaching the under 16s in grassroots, also for QPR, and coaching them towards winning finals. So that's some of my positives as a player, and also going in a little bit into a coach. On the next slide, my football journey as a coach. So as I said, I've got a lot of experience in coaching, starting volunteering at a young age. As you can see, there's a couple of pictures below. I started volunteering through some soccer schools. So if we click again, I'll take you through a couple of the programs that I've worked on. So if we just click through. So I started my journey working at Queen's Park Rangers and the Community Trust as a casual coach. So this had me involved in working in schools on a Premier League funded program, which is the Primary Stars program. So this is coaching within schools in PE, so within school time, and also extracurricular, so after school clubs. Another funded program from the Premier League, which is Premier League Girls, which is based at teenage girls, providing free sport, again, after school, just allowing girls to basically experience, socialise, and making sure they have fun through football as well. As well as that, I've worked on multi-sports Premier League funded program called Multi-Sport Premier League for Sport, which also provided for teenagers sports they can socialise in, and as well as disability programs as well. My new role at AFC Wimbledon has seen me provide through Premier League Kicks, a Premier League funded program, which allows teenagers in the community to play football within a safe environment. So that's for boys and girls going through. And as Roxanne touched on, the FA Wildcats program, where it's for girls that are beginning their football journey. So allowing them to, see football in a fun way, and really make it exciting for them to try and stay into football in that primary school age. Through this experience, it's allowed me to start as a girls player development centre. Now here, girls mainly have one session a week of training, and then a match, which is probably an hour of training. So that's not really enough for girls to really develop their football skills. So I decided when I started my role at AFC Wimbledon to start a session that really allows them to develop their football skills, and also provide a pathway and a link to local grassroots teams, in case they want to develop their journey and really go to the top and the professional level that they are now on the pathway to get to. So I've got some pictures below which show the opportunities that my role has brought me. So at Queen's Park Rangers, I've got a picture on the left here which shows me meeting Prince William, and that's through our Primary Stars program. And it's really just, we're actually having to speak there about, you know, how far this program can really go and these opportunities for the girls. And on the right, that's my player development center, where the girls are really listening in and trying to basically take in as much information as they can about the game tactically and technically, and really develop their skills on that. So the next slide. Brilliant. So over my experience, what have I learned? I've learned a lot, really. First of all, my attitude to learning is learn as much as you can to build yourself into being the best you can be. Now, every coach is different. As I said, I started volunteering at a young age of 15, and I've learned through my time of coaching a lot. I started doing my coaching at quite a young age. By like 18 years old, I was on my first level 1. So through that, through different coaches and my own journey, being creative, I think is really important. And also a structure, which is really good and key. So through the Premier League Girls Programme, I learned that quite a lot, that weekly topics can really help keep girls engaged. So in football, you have different positions. So you have defenders, you have strikers, you have wingers, and everyone's going to be good at different things. So by having your weekly topics and building up to a competition towards the end of it, it can really you know, encourage the girls to stay involved and really help them know what they're good at. So structure is definitely good for that. And most importantly, fun, which is, you know, really put into context in the Wildcats program. Fun is key because you want to keep them coming back every week. And if they're having fun, they're going to do that. Also taking a lot of things from other sports, I think is very important. So I've done this by learning to coach other sports, which is a list below of a few other things. And sometimes I may, you know, develop these and incorporate them into my warm-ups just to help really build other players. And also some players play other sports, so it's really good to put those things into it. Next. Future goals. I have a lot of future goals for myself. But personally, I would love to become a UEFA B qualified coach. This will allow me to, you know, take my work further around and really develop my knowledge and continue to grow women and girls football within schools, recreation and grassroots. So as you can see on the picture on the right here at the top, this is me presenting a check to a local girls league, which is a group of teenage girls that play within 4 teams on a Saturday. And it really allows them within a safe environment to really play and socialize and learn even more about the game. And underneath, as I mentioned earlier, another picture of me in my element. Around this time, I'd actually, as I mentioned previously, where I had a broken leg, and it actually allowed me to really focus on, you know, really developing my coaching skills instead. And this was the under-16s team that I took forward, and we got to a final, won that final. So there's definitely some positives to some of the negatives that happened in life. So for me, I'm grateful for the opportunities my job and hobbies have brought me. So my message from that realistically is never stop learning. And last slide, please. So I've got a little quote here from myself. On the day I got my first lead coaching role, I knew I wanted to be the kind of coach who helps young kids learn and develop their football skills to reach their potential. So that sums up quite a lot of my journey and what I'd like to do going forward. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that gave you a bit of an insight as my player and coaching journey here.
Thank you, Kasia. It's really interesting because there's some similarity that we share between Indonesia and the UK, and also from your stories and Roxanne's stories. So let me just wrap up in Indonesian language, if that's okay. Jadi Bapak Ibu sekalian, tadi sudah disampaikan cerita ataupun pandangan dari Inggris, tapi mungkin 5 jadi poin utamanya adalah pentingnya menyediakan kesempatan bagi anak-anak dari usia dini. Tadi yang paling kecil sebenarnya dari umur 5 tahun ya. Kalau di Indonesia kita punya konsep balita, jadi di atas Mbak Lita. Lalu juga kata kunci yang kedua yang sering-sering disebut adalah fun. Jadi semua sesinya harus menyenangkan dan equal access atau pentingnya kesempatan yang sama terlepas dari latar belakangnya, terlepas dari lokasinya. Tadi ada program yang hampir serupa yang sudah sedang ataupun dikembangkan oleh teman-teman di PSSI atau di Indonesia adalah berkolaborasi dengan pihak sekolah. Lalu tadi juga sudah diceritakan oleh Roxanne dan juga Keisha bagaimana pandangan dan pengalaman beliau dari sudut pandang atau pengalaman pribadi sebagai pemain, sebagai pelatih, dan juga tadi penyediaan kesempatan untuk tidak melihat sepak bola hanya dari segi prestasi ataupun dari segi kompetisi, tapi juga dari segi rekreasi atau rekreasional. Dan pentingnya engagement atau partisipasi di berbagai sektor, termasuk penyediaan kesempatan untuk volunteering, ataupun tadi juga Keisha sudah menceritakan bagaimana beliau juga mendapatkan pengalaman yang banyak dari bekerja di komunitas begitu. Jadi kayak semacam pendekatan yang menyeluruh dan ternyata di Inggris juga pernah di ban. Dan tadi ada program yang menarik juga, tidak hanya sepak bola untuk anak-anak usia dini ataupun juga untuk teman-teman yang masih muda, tapi juga untuk yang senior atau lansia seperti itu, dan sangat menyeluruh. Jadi tadi hampir nyambung sama konsep yang dicoba dikenalkan oleh Bu Papat ya, family gitu, football family dari anak-anak sampai yang sudah senior begitu. Mungkin saya mohon izin sedikit, tadi sudah diceritakan dari sudut pandang pemain nih, yang paling kita tunggu juga Didi atau Daniel yang merupakan juga masih pemain aktif timnas perempuan kita. Mungkin bisa sedikit cerita. Saya tahu tuh udah banyak banget pertanyaan, jadi semoga masih bertahan di layar. Kita coba arahkan untuk waktu yang lebih maksimal. Ada pertanyaan yang sudah dihadirkan. Oke, saya serahkan layarnya ke Didi. Silakan. Over to you, Didi, Daniel. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. First of all, I wanted to say that it's an honor for me to be here speaking and sharing my experience to everyone. I think this is a great stepping stone for PSSI to be working alongside the British Council and further developing the sport at structural level. So I wanted to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on this digital platform. And just a brief introduction, my name is Daniel Daphne and I play football for Indonesia's women's national team. My fascination with football, it first grew when I was 6 years old, when I was watching the final game of FIFA World Cup between France and Italy. However, my parents weren't so keen about the idea of their daughter playing football, and it took me about another 3 years to convince them. And so I started playing later on at the age of 9. I'm pretty sure a lot of girls here, they either had gone or are going through that experience due to the preconceived norms we have in our society. I can say my defining point in football is when I got selected for the U12 under 12 national team, where I was the only girl among the boys. And to impress, my parents became very supportive about me playing football. Shortly after, I realized that I didn't want football to just end up as one of my hobbies. I wanted to pursue the sport and inspire young girls who face similar experience to come out and play. For me, my highest achievement so far is to play in the 2018 Asian Games. And in 2019, I had the opportunity to play in Tottenham Hotspurs, London, and train with the Spurs ladies as well. For now, I'm currently playing football and studying at Oregon State University, where I received academic scholarship for 4 years. Also, in regards to the previous discussions we had, I want to add a bit of opinion. Roxanne did say earlier about the FA banning women football for 50 years. I actually did a bit of research, and I read somewhere that the reason they banned the women football is because it was doing better and they were gaining more audience than the men's game itself. And the reason they banned it is because women's football were gaining more audience, and they didn't want that to happen. Also, earlier in the morning session, Ibu Maika Ire mentioned that 77% of Indonesia population is football fanatic. And I actually agree with that statement, because we have one of the craziest football scenes in the world, no doubt. Just imagine if women football gets a proper wrapping and coverage, it could be a very big industry. Yeah. And lastly, I want to say thank you to all government instances such as PSSI, the British Council, and all stakeholders. Please never stop supporting women's football. That's about it.
Thank you, Daniel, Didi. So it's such a refreshing to have you as part of the new faces of Indonesian football as well, even though you're connecting from our yet live. Thank you so much. Jadi terima kasih banyak untuk para narasumber. Thank you so much. I'm conscious of time, but as I mentioned, I just like to highlight. Well, one of the key elements of the UK presentation is around working with community or using football as a tool as well to inspire and engage other key stakeholders to provide more opportunity and also leadership in the UK and also in different programs within outside the pitch. So I do have one question. Jadi saya selalu punya pertanyaan. Mungkin saya izin menanyakan ke Ibu Ira. Dan juga menanyakan ke Salawat to have one question for Ibu Ira and also for Roxanne as a start. So how you ladies see the pandemic provide us with a challenge? What is the main challenge? Just one single challenge. I know there's like different challenges, and also what the pandemic situation provide a new opportunity actually for the football industry or for our ecosystem or using football as a community development. Hopefully that's clear enough. Jadi Ibu Ira, pertanyaannya adalah yang tadi saya sudah sampaikan, di tengah pandemi kita punya tantangan. Apakah boleh diceritakan satu tantangan ini dari sudut pandang Ibu mewakili PSSI, tapi ada kesempatan lain yang coba dihadirkan selama pandemi ini. Silakan Bu, bisa dalam bahasa Inggris atau bahasa Indonesia. So the first to Ibu Ira and the next goes to Roxanne. Thank you.
Thank you, Mbak Karin. So I will answer this in English. Thank you so much. It's such a great question because we all know that 2020, all of us shut down. Football activity stopped. We didn't do anything, but that didn't stop us from doing something. And especially 2020 is a very challenging as well as a very opening of mind experience for all of us, because we were in the middle of preparing for the FIFA Under-20 World Cup that was supposed to happen this year. So the challenges, of course, for PSSI itself, for our national team, first of all, is the health protocol. In terms of the financial budgeting, it blew up over the top of the roof, because it's we have to do the health protocol, we have to do the PCR or swab test to everyone involved, whether it's players, coaches, referees, and everyone involved, as well as the committees. And but that also opened our mind that before we didn't prioritize health, but now health is above all. and that is the main thing that we learned in the pandemic. And the second challenges as well is also a digital platform. As the lead project manager for FIFA Under-20 World Cup, we had the opportunity to use the digital platform, and this also decreased the barrier between us and everyone involved. We also implement a virtual inspection, for example, and that was happened successfully during the pandemic session. So basically the challenges, which is the health protocol and also the digital platform, that we saw first as the obstacles, as the challenges, but then through the pandemic, we learned that we could turn that into an opportunity. So that's from our side, from PSSI. Thank you. Back to you, Mbak Karin.
Thank you, Bu Ira. Very interesting. Let's hear what Roxanne actually think about the question. Thank you, Roxanne. Over to you.
Hiya. So I think if we're talking about pandemic in the UK, we've had 3 lockdowns where it was full lockdown. And today actually is the anniversary 1 year ago that the country went into the first lockdown. So the biggest challenge, like we said, was the digital world. So how do we engage with young people and even adults when everything's online? So I think the first lockdown, it was very new. We weren't doing Zooms, we weren't doing these calls. Now we're into sort of the third lockdown. We've caught up, we've been able to provide those Zoom calls, whether it's physical activity or just socializing. And I think, like we said, is now there's an opportunity. So where we've had struggles with engaging via the online platform, can we now provide the opportunity for those women and girls to take part in physical activity? From next Monday, actually, hopefully we can start again face to face. So I think that would be our opportunity to get people out, and health and well-being is priority. How do we get people out of their homes and onto the football pitches, even if it's just for a chat or a talk, and then slowly get back into the physical activity? But I know it's definitely, even for me personally, I've walked more, I've started running, because I don't particularly want to be at the screen anymore. And we spoke about children have been homeschooled on the computers. Everything is on the computer. So we've probably exhausted the resources. So it's really exciting now that we've got next week in the UK where we can start providing that face-to-face actual playing with a football, which is really exciting.
Thank you, Roxanne. Hopefully Indonesia is going to be able to catch up with the UK on the element of having the face-to-face. But thank you so much for answering the question. Yang berikutnya saya mungkin bergeser. Jadi kalau boleh teman-teman, saya mohon izin ada agar tidak lebih lama dan memaksimalkan waktu. Jadi masih ada 3 pertanyaan ditujukan ke narasumber yang sudah hadir. Jadi 1 pertanyaan untuk banyak sekali pertanyaannya, tapi mungkin saya mohon izin teman-teman yang sudah bertanya untuk saya coba bantu. Mungkin pertanyaan yang berikutnya saya tujukan ke Daniel dulu. Apa sebenarnya yang bisa dilakukan? Mungkin dari pengalaman kamu juga tadi sudah ada tantangan juga dari dukungan orang tua dan mungkin ada hal yang lain, tapi bagaimana sih bisa juga memaksimalkan potensi teman-teman lain di Indonesia yang memang tertarik untuk masuk ke ranah sepak bola perempuan? Mungkin top tips-nya seperti itu, Didi, Daniel.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, it was muted, yeah. Sorry.
No worries, carry on.
Oke, menurut aku untuk teman-teman putri yang ingin bermain sepak bola, jangan takut, berani aja untuk main. Selama itu hal yang positif yang kamu lakuin untuk diri kamu dan lingkungan, kenapa harus takut dengan opini orang lain dan perspektif mereka? Lakukan aja untuk diri kamu sendiri.
Oke, terima kasih Didi. Jadi yang pentingnya dari diri kita sendiri ya. Kalau memang pengen main pasti nemu jalan ya. Begitu ya kurang lebihnya.
If there's a will, there's a way.
Yes, thank you. Yang berikutnya, saya mungkin izin, Bu Papat banyak fansnya, banyak pertanyaan, saya coba rangkum ya Bu, nanti mungkin saya simpan dulu. Tapi yang berikutnya saya coba arahkan ke Kasha dan juga Roxanne. Two question actually, Kasha, you got two question, and similar question for you and also Roxanne. So the share question is, among different challenges that Indonesia have, like you hear about that already, what will be your suggestion as a matter of priorities? We have some issue around like working or keeping children safe, around the pathway and that kind of thing. If we can just speak and learn from your experience, what would be the priorities, kind of like between all of that, what will be the advice for you to give us around the priorities step? So that's the first. And the second question for you as well, Roxanne. What role should brands and the media play in developing inclusive ecosystem? I assume it's around football, so more young women are able to play. Okay. Would you like to
do the first
yes.
one?
You'd like to kick off, Ash? Over to you. Thank you.
Okay, I think it's most important to just basically provide as much opportunity as possible, to be honest. So making sure that you've got, enough opportunities for girls to be able to play, in terms of keeping safe as well. That's obviously going to be key in this time, but it's also about taking their mind away from the situation, the scenario was going on. I started football and to sort of focus on that and being like something that I can do for fun, and essentially keeping girls in that is going to be key in this time. So making sure that you've got a nice safe environment for them to play in, something for them to get away from at the moment in terms of like school and education when they need it, can actually really help them relax their anxieties about things that are going on in the world. So just providing as much opportunity basically for them to be able to do that, play, and make it social. As I said, be creative with it. We've had to start up sessions online and put out workout videos, and making sure that they can see a visual role model in front of them is definitely very key to know that they can get there. So if you can provide those simple things, it will allow them to keep going and allow girls and women's football to grow. That's mine.
Thank you, Cash. Roxanne, do you want to?
I'll just expand on that one. I think there's another area that's really highlighted over the last year is we have to listen to what young people want. I think a lot of time we make up and say, well, we're going to do a football session on a Sunday at 4 till 5, or we're going to do it on an evening from 7 till 8 at this venue, and it doesn't work out. So my advice is we have youth forums. So we get groups of young girls together and we ask them, what do they want? Even the recreational, the walking football, what do they want? When do they want to play? How do they want the session to run? Because then you're going to get more success. So it's great to provide the opportunities, but we don't have to dictate what that is, because a 16-year-old girl thinks very differently to a 37-year-old woman who hasn't been in that environment for many years. We can do the session, we can put everything in place, but I'd rather listen to the young people and hear what they've got to say. So I would definitely encourage in schools, in your local communities, is get a group together and ask them questions, because they will probably come up with the answers. And hopefully, as professionals and as organisations, you can put what they're wanting into play. So I think hopefully that is what we have learned over the last few years, is listen to what they want.
Thank you. Probably just a last addition around whether one of you could actually help just very quickly around the role of the media play as well.
Yeah, I think, like I said yesterday, there was the announcement here that there'll be much more TV coverage of our women's football. There's also an app that we can watch football on. That's probably where the last season has been, where the FA has live matches from the very top league, and I think 2 below that, where we can, sit on the sofa and watch a football match, where we weren't able to before, especially in the pandemic. We've been able to watch more football online than I've ever watched. But I think it is important that you have your sponsors, your backing from the media, because you need to make it visual for the girls and the women. They need to see that there's something out there for them, and that could be whether it's as posters, as flyers, depends how things work in Indonesia, but here it's on apps. It's people being your allies, not just women. It can't just be us as passionate women in football. It has to be the men's football teams. Do they have women's teams alongside them? So here, that's what we're trying to improve, is that every men's team, there's a women's team, and then there's teams below that. So I think it's really important that everybody has their part to play in promoting positivity. It is different. Women's is not the same as men's football. We can't compare that because it is very different. And I know that it was said earlier about women have got to hold their own and show that they're just as good, but it is slightly different. It's a different game. It looks different. They play it differently. Yes, it is still football, but there comes a lot more social aspect to it. You might have people that just go to the games and they don't play, which is absolutely fantastic. But I think it's a slow process. It can't come at once. It might be gradual. But like here, over the last 20 years, I think when I was 18, the FA Cup was the only game on telly that we could see. Now, next season, I can watch, I can't remember how many games, 30 or 50 games in the season on telly live, which is fantastic. But that's 20 years. In another 20 years, it's going to be brilliant. It should be women's football that we watch, and we can see it everywhere, which I think is fantastic. So I hope that, it's all your organisations coming together and exposing as much as possible.
Okay, great. I mean, great stuff. Definitely some key takeaway there. Thank you. Yang terakhir, tapi juga paling penting, Ibu Fapat, saya sudah coba rangkum pertanyaan sejuta umat untuk Ibu. Jadi pertanyaannya adalah, sebenarnya setelah ini nih Bu, adakah mungkin target besar untuk sepak bola di Indonesia mungkin dalam kurun waktu tadi sebenarnya udah ada kisi-kisinya dari segi time frame ataupun waktu, misalnya di Piala Asia ataupun nanti di ajang internasional itu, mungkin adakah target utama nih Bu untuk sepak bola wanita di Indonesia? Lalu apakah juga sudah ada kolaborasi dengan beberapa asosiasi sepak bola, termasuk kapan nih Bu asosiasi sepak bola wanita akan dibentuk di tingkat daerah, begitu. Dan yang terakhir tadi, sebenarnya ini tidak pertanyaan tapi usulan untuk lebih memperbanyak kompetisi Liga Pro Sepak Bola Wanita dan kompetisi-kompetisi lainnya, begitu Bu Bapak. Saya mohon izin untuk saya serahkan ke Ibu untuk sebelum nanti kita coba rangkum dan akhiri. Terima kasih.
Oke, terima kasih. Saya sangat apresiasi sekali bahwa peserta webinar ini sungguh memberikan masukan, dukungan, dan pertanyaannya itu memang ada kaitannya dengan program kita. Di antaranya saya mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Aprilia Dia Suhestri, yang mana di sini dari Lampung tidak hanya pemain dan pelatih, tetapi perangkat pertandingan seperti wasit dan match commissioner berlisensi yang dimiliki PSSI, juga ada wanita. Bagaimana cara langkah PSSI untuk memberdayakan wasit dan komisioner wanita pada kompetisi resmi. Sepertinya tadi Aprilia mungkin tidak terlalu menyimak bahwa saya sudah detail berapa jumlah wasit, berapa jumlah perangkat juga pertandingan yang lainnya. Nah ini tapi saya coba lagi, PSSI memiliki program kerja jangka panjang dan juga program tahunan untuk meningkatkan kompetensi wasit, pengawas pertandingan. Tentu salah satu kompetensi untuk yang terus ditargetkan di tahun mulai 2021 ini, didukung oleh anggota dan pemerintah, akan menyelenggarakan kursus wasit yang berlisensi. Walaupun sudah ada tadi jumlah yang sudah selama ini melakukan tugas, terus homogen, dan juga workshop pengawas pertandingan. Ini juga perlu kita budayakan, karena mulai ke depannya bahkan sekarang sudah ada aturan bahwa perangkat pertandingan di dalam event internasional dan nasional itu harus semuanya wanita. Itu untuk ke depannya, dan kita juga alhamdulillah sudah punya. Dalam penugasan terhadap personil tersebut telah dilakukan sejak beberapa tahun yang lalu. Seperti di Liga juga kemarin hampir 80% itu perangkat pertandingan matchcom itu wanita. Juga di pertandingan Suratin wasit wanita itu ada ditugaskan, walaupun itu kan masih putra. Jadi kita tetap berkoordinasi dengan para pemuka untuk yang mengadakan. Jadi tidak hanya putri saja karena masih kurang, jadi coba diagendakan untuk putri yang sudah ada itu diberi kesempatan untuk memimpin. Dan juga Elite Pro Academy. Nah, selain itu tentu saja wasit dan match commissioner wanita tersebut memiliki kesempatan utama dalam bertugas di kompetisi atau turnamen wanita, termasuk di dalam kompetisi tingkat ASEAN, salah satunya AFF U16 Championship 2018. Peningkatan kualitas mereka juga menjadi perhatian, karena mereka memiliki kesempatan untuk mengikuti refreshment dan juga seleksi untuk wasit dan match commissioner tingkat internasional yang dimulai dari tingkat ASEAN hingga level FIFA. Jadi kita juga untuk mengirim perangkat pertandingan untuk di level internasional itu tentu banyak tahapan-tahapan yang harus dilalui dengan tes teori, fisik, dan lain-lain. Itu pertanyaan diantaranya dari Aprilia. Juga yang dari Pak ini yang target ya. Ada tadi menanyakan target bahwa kita sudah ada di 2021-22 ini untuk AFF U16 itu targetnya kita semifinal. Ya. Untuk U19 juga itu semifinal. Untuk AFC tentunya kita lebih sulit lagi dengan pesaing-pesaing negara yang sudah cukup berpengalaman dan berprestasi. Kita menargetkan 8 besar untuk AFC levelnya. Untuk di 2022 kita target AFF U15 dan U16 itu semifinal. Juga di U19 dan AFF Women itu sama di semifinal. Di 2003 dan 2023 sampai 2025 kita masuk AFC itu ke babak untuk 8 besar. Nah ini lebih bersaing lagi, kita persiapkan dengan matang. Juga di FIFA itu kita menargetkan ranking ke-70. dibanding dengan sekarang. Jadi kita sudah ada target. Terima kasih tadi untuk tahun 2026 ini tentunya insya Allah nanti ada regenerasi yang lebih yang lebih baik lagi, lebih profesional segalanya. 2026 kita menargetkan untuk FIFA ranking 50. Ya, ini tadi terima kasih yang sudah bertanya. Ini saya jawab semaksimal mungkin, mudah-mudahan kekurangan-kekurangannya ini tanggung jawab kita bersama. Itu tadi. Yang selanjutnya mungkin kita tetap jawab melalui chat karena ini waktunya mungkin Mbak Karin ya, tapi insya Allah tetap kita jawab. Terima kasih, itu masukan yang baik nih Pak Sande dan lain-lainnya. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih banyak Bu Papat. Ini kita ibarat main bola perpanjangan waktu ini ya. We actually just having like a overtime because we haven't made enough goals actually from our end. Thank you so much. Terima kasih banyak Bu Papat. Mungkin saya mohon izin untuk merangkum dan mengakhiri panel diskusi. Thank you so much for Kasya, Roxane, Ibu Ira, Daniel, and also Bu Papat. Poin pentingnya ada 5 tadi yang saya tangkap, bahwa sinergi antara praktisi, antara federasi yang memang mengambil keputusan ataupun dari pihak pemerintahan berperan penting untuk menciptakan ekosistem baik di ranah akar rumput ataupun grassroots ataupun juga elit atau prestasi begitu. Lalu tadi kita juga sudah mendengar ada kesamaan tantangan baik dari Inggris atau Indonesia sebenarnya. Tadi Didi bahkan sudah menunjukkan beberapa fakta yang menarik ya gitu, karena ternyata pihak dari tim sebelah sebenarnya takut tersaingi begitu ya kurang lebihnya. Jadi secara histori atau sejarah itu penting untuk membantu pengembangan kapasitas sepak bola wanita di Indonesia ataupun di Inggris, dan juga pentingnya meningkatkan persepsi publik atau penerimaan masyarakat termasuk orang tua begitu, dan juga bagaimana ada kesempatan di dalam dan di luar lapangan, baik itu di ranah kancah internasional, nasional ataupun di lokal, dan juga melihat peranan penting juga untuk peningkatan pertama kali yang tadi selalu disebut-sebut adalah peningkatan kesempatan dan peningkatan partisipasi, dan juga peranan panutan atau role model. Dan ternyata di tengah pandemi tidak ada semangat yang terputus, semuanya masih semangat, dan ada kesempatan yang dihadirkan, yaitu kepemimpinan lewat acara virtual yang seperti kita lakukan pada sore hari ini. Mungkin itu dulu, tapi ini menarik sih, saya sebagai moderator juga menangkap panitia, sepertinya kita akan coba jajaki apakah ada kesempatan untuk babak kedua nih, atau babak lanjutan ya untuk sesi webinar di fokus pengembangan potensi perempuan dan anak-anak perempuan lewat pendekatan sepak bola. Tapi mungkin itu dari saya. Sekali lagi terima kasih banyak untuk teman-teman yang masih bertahan, dan juga untuk semua narasumber, untuk Kasya, Ibu Ira, Didi, dan juga Ibu Papat, dan juga Roxane. Begitu, mungkin saya izin atas nama saya pribadi dan juga selaku moderator, untuk kelebihan dan kekurangannya saya mohon maaf lahir dan batin. Saya mungkin sekarang undang, semoga bermanfaat untuk teman-teman yang sudah dihadirkan apa yang kita coba tawarkan dan kenalkan. Saya mungkin mengundang kembali rekan saya MC, Mas Ari, kembali ke Anda. Terima kasih.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kartini Sinejo, who has guided us on the panel discussion. What a wonderful panel discussion that we already learned a lot about the women empowerment in football. Now we step to the next agenda. There will be a closing remarks from the British Council Indonesia. To Mr. Hugh Moffat, you may have the floor.
Good morning and good evening, everybody. I'm not sure quite how to follow that. That's an extraordinary session just now. So just for me, my role is to say a huge thank you. I'm still in the UK. You may notice that it's not quite the same as Indonesia yet, but I am the country director for British Council Indonesia. And then thanks to Karin here, who's our great female lead for the Premier Skills Programme, which is a brilliant partnership that we have with the Premier League. And so a huge thank you to them for enabling our colleagues from Roxanne and Kasia who've come along as a result of that incredible network that the Premier League has helped develop and support. And that's point point that we'll come back to, which is that holistic approach to sport for everybody and how to make that work. So thank you to the Premier League. But of course, for Indonesia, we really appreciate the PSSI and the government of Indonesia commitment and the people who've come together today and this morning and this afternoon to present on all those points. So if I could just mention Ibu Vivian Chahani, Executive Committee of PSSI, thank you very much to Ibu Gusti Damawati and of course Ibu Agustina Susianti, for the Deputy for the Gender Equality, Women and Child Protection, Government of Indonesia. For all of you, thank you for your presentations and contributions, and again that sense of what the Government of Indonesia is doing and the commitments PSSI are making to women's football. And also to Dr. Herman Chaniago, the Ministry of Assistant Deputy for the Ministry of Youth and Sport. Again, thank you for your presentation. Again, you can see all around in Indonesia that development. And I think then we come to the panelists who gave me a history, which is brilliant in terms of a couple of connections. So thank you very much to Ibu Ira, again, as Under-20 World Cup Lead Project Manager, again, gives us that sense of what's going on, and PSSI's Vice General Secretary, what's going on, you know, with the recovery from COVID and how we were responding. But Dr. Papa, I think, as the head of women's football, PSSI in Indonesia, Women's Football Association chairman, but also 1982 goal scorer and medal winner. I think I'll start with your point where you talked about the history of Indonesia and that picture of 1977. You talked about a selling out or sold out game, which was really interesting again, because when I look back, and again we heard from Danielle, who referenced the talk of why the men's game banned the women's game back in the 1920s and later, was because of that success and popularity. And that's incredible that in 1977 that was happening in Indonesia. And I pull that back to 1920 and Goodison Park, home of Everton Football Club, and 53,000 people in the ground. You know, it's incredible. So yes, there's that envy and that unsuitability of football for women, as was then 100 years ago, and to look at where we are now is quite extraordinary. So thank you for sharing those stories. And again, Dr. Papa, the targets you're setting, and it sounds very exciting and really interesting to see. Coming to, obviously I'm from the UK, so it's fantastic to hear from Roxanne, and some of the points you picked out there really, Roxanne, I mean, there are so many to see, but that point about male allies being on the journey with us, and when we talk about football is a male dominated game and continues to be, but there is progress, significant progress, and your point around visually seeing girls on the telly, on the television, is a really important thing. So in the UK, free-to-air television, the BBC used to play all the football, then it went behind a paywall, and now it's back. And this announcement just yesterday, or today even, wasn't it, about the Women's Super League is going to be showing big games. I mean, that is the key thing, the excitement that was generated by the Olympics and the women's football team, particularly the huge crowds that came along. You just need to keep building on this, and this is what's happening. You're seeing progress on progress on progress for that visibility, that visual on the UK, and that whole society approach. It's not just about women in football, it's not just about the TV companies, it's how it all works together to create that point. And I think Danielle's point about the 77% of people, well, again, there's 50% men, 50% women. How do we make that work, and how do we get that more popular? I think it's really, really fantastic points. So thank you, Roxanne. And to Kasia, I thought your points on your personal story, and it's fantastic you're still playing after that breaking your leg, and the point of going into coaching early is interesting, isn't it? How do you develop that passionate player but move in, inspire other people, and I think that's quite remarkable that what you've done there. But that point of the importance of play, I mean, well, we're all locked down, aren't we? How on earth do you do that, and how have you been inspiring your people? You've given some brilliant stories of what you've been doing there, and I think those are just all that holistic approach, and really using sport, using football as a way of enabling that discussion about power relations between boys and girls, men and women is so important. So all power to you for that. That's fantastic. And finally, to Danielle, I thought your presentation was brilliant in the way you presented, and what an inspiration, what an amazing amazing person to be where you are. But again, that connection back to when we had Dr. Papat, you know, the role you play, I can see you doing that sometime hence after a very successful career, Danielle. But you know, you've said it all with that point around that audience you've mentioned, and the simplicity of your message about just go and do it. I think is the inspiration for us all of us. So I'm really looking forward to seeing more there. I think just going back to that point about the visibility, you know, the other point when we talk about representation, it's not just on the field, it's off the field. And when we talk about presentations, yesterday I was watching, I think was Match of the Day, the football on, and Alex Scott, you know, the former Arsenal and England women footballer, there she is commenting, you know, that's only relatively recent. So for the UK, you know, there is progress, but it's been, you know, as Roxanne said, 20 years, there's still work to be done, but it's fantastic to see how much there is going on now. But that's not enough. We need to keep moving and keep that agenda moving, particularly that networking support and financing in these future years. So just to say thank you very much to all the panelists for an incredible presentation, and really inspiring for me to hear that, and as a major football fan myself, what more to do but to get watching. And to all the participants, thank you for your time, for giving up your time today and for tomorrow. And I know that tomorrow we continue and this is where we come back to it, which is what is the practical action we can take. We've heard some examples of how things have developed in our respective countries and the progress that has been made. So as we move back into, hopefully, we might be facing more lockdowns in the UK or in Indonesia, but what are we going to do differently? What if we meet in a year's time? What is the action that we have committed to in our respective organisations to take things further forward? And I can see that in the chat, those questions of what are we doing? How can we do things? And I think this kind of meeting has given a few more ideas. But tomorrow there's even more, the practitioners will be talking about what we can do together. And then what is the support role an organisation like the British Council can play? And of course, then there's the structural support that, of course, is given by the government, by the PSSI, and of course the Premier League. All of those things are things for us to work with. So thank you very much for today. A really inspirational day, fantastic discussion. And I would like to thank all of you for your participation. I hope you have a good, enjoyable rest of the day today and tomorrow. I hope you are very safe. And I think I should really finish and hand back to the moderator. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hugh Mufat, for your closing speech. We hope women football in Indonesia can grow to advance even in these pandemic situations, because we believe that we can. Now I'm going to announce the lucky participants who asked questions during the discussion panel session and also from the digital forum this morning. And the name I mentioned will get a special gift from PSSI, that is Indonesian National Team Jacket. And the lucky participants are, from the morning sessions, the first one is Bapak Juanda, SAMM from South Sumatra. Selamat, Bapak. And the second one from the morning session is Dr. Randa Yulia Trisamita. Dr. Randa Yulia Trisamiha, MPD, from PS Palembang. And from this webinar sessions, the lucky participants is Ibu Yulida Hermaniar from Kalimantan Selatan, or South Kalimantan from Banjarmasin. Congratulations to all the winners. After the event, all the names that I mentioned before will be contacted by the committee. So, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, now we came to the end of this digital forum or the webinar Women's Football. On behalf of the host and the committee, once again, we would like to give our deepest appreciation to you all for your support and participation. Good evening and see you on the next event. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye-bye.
Thank you.